Hi, welcome to the Summer Stock Showcase at Steuer Museum. We're in the Leo Steuer building here where we often showcase fine art along with our permanent exhibition. I'm Chris Hochstiller. I'm the Executive Director here at Steuer Museum, and this is Brad Melma, a dear friend with Grand Island Visitor, Grand Island Tourism. Does a great job representing Grand Island and Steuer Museum as well.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here again and take a little art walk with you and just enjoy some of this together today.
Thank you. Brad and I are both connoisseurs of artwork, so we love getting together and talking about art and sharing some of that with you.
On the second floor of the Steuer building, when I came in and I saw this lovely piece by Sally Juergensmeyer, what struck me first was the way you have it presented here. So whoever hung your show put some good attention to detail. I enjoyed the way the light came and the shadow went on the wall. As a photographer, it's all about the light and shadow, so I'm always looking at that. But incidentally, the painting right next to us has a wonderful shadow from the ladder that's being capstone there, so that's something that caught my eye right away. But Sally Juergensmeyer is a friend of mine. I have a piece of hers at home in our garden, and been to her farm south of Hartwell, Nebraska, over in the Minden area. If you ever get the chance to stop in there, she does some open houses occasionally, and it's really where she comes from. I went out and actually photographed her as an artist a number of years ago. But this is a metal sculpture entitled Glassy Grain. Well, if you've been to her farm, you'll understand it's completely surrounded by corn and bean fields, and her art comes from the piles of metal that you might see at any given farm around. And so over the years, she's taken and harvested a lot of that. A lot of this looks like maybe she's trimming it off with some various stock that she may have in there. But what's fun is these insulators off of the old, maybe the communication poles near a railroad or someplace like that. We actually, the flower that we had made, asked her to insert some of those insulators at home. We had some blue ones that went in there, and when the sun strikes it, it's really fun to see. So I was really drawn to this piece of Sally's. It's just fun and whimsical work.
And it's really her personality. You know, when you talk to Sally, she's a little bitty thing, but very bubbly, very
crazy, yeah.
A little crazy,
yeah.
Real energetic, almost overwhelming with her energy.
She is.
And you really see that in her work and her pieces, and I do enjoy that, because when you get to know an artist and then you see their work and you can start to see that personality come out, I think that's really what connects you to a piece. So this Jeremy Daniels piece is completely, it's just stunning. The color is amazing. It's called Prairie Sojourner. And it brings up so many different images to my mind. First of all, of course, the bison, which is integral to the prairie, but the color scheme, the abstract nature of it, it's just wow, isn't it?
It is. You've got, half a dozen of his pieces here. Color is where it's at. His use of color is just amazing. And then when you get into this piece, you know, you can look at it up close and begin to see the detail in the swirls and the beautiful integration of color there. But it's a very powerful piece.
It's really incredible. And you know, when you encounter a painting, there's a lot of different things that you know, will capture you and draw you in. But one of the things that always pulls me in is just the texture and the depth of something. And you can get a sense of texture, even if it's not full of peaks and valleys and all those things, and he's really done that here with just the use of color.
Yeah, I was going to say the outline of the animal in the background are somewhat simple, but boy, it's really punctuated by that. I think earlier when you and I were looking at it, you said it could even be a flag.
That's right.
You know, just the way that background has that look to it, and the horizontal nature of that back there. It's a wonderful piece.
And another thing Jeremy has done here, I think, is this is certainly abstract contemporary art, but there's abstract art that is sitting right there on the edge it's so avant-garde that you wouldn't hang it in your house. You know, you say, unless I was a real connoisseur, I just would not put it above the sofa or above the mantle. What he's done here with this bison is he's walked that line so well. This would hang lovely anywhere.
Well, any home, like we're prairie people here. The bison is of the prairie, and it certainly would be at home to anybody that likes that prairie or that nature theme to what they have in their setting in their home.
It really is. And Jeremy is from Hastings, well known for landscapes, Nebraska skies, Platte River stuff. But the work that we have here in the Summer Stock Showcase that Jeremy has done by and large, it is really this very colorful acrylic work. We've got a few homages to some of the very famous jazz musicians, Ray Charles, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald. And they're really large pieces, aren't they?
They are, and they're powerful too. I mean, you took these figures like Ella Fitzgerald, very powerful in the way that they're presented, and the color that's used there. It's almost like you would see in the Caribbean. That kind of use of the way the color is. It kind of reminded me of reminiscent of that.
It is, and I think it also speaks to the diversity of our community here in central Nebraska that not everybody always acknowledges, right? But we are a very diverse, inclusive community.
Okay, we've got artist Ann Martin, who is a local artist, and she's got a good representation here in your show. But this particular one caught both of our eyes. It is such a Nebraska pastoral scene. And this couple of the things, first of all, the color, it's real. If you live here, you know that our sunrises and sunsets introduce this kind of color into our daily lives. And the sky dominates the scene here. It really does.
On almost all of her work, you and I've talked about this, where in many places in the country, an artist learn the rule of thirds when they're setting up a piece. But in many places in the country, you would find that the landscape itself would consume maybe almost as half of a canvas. Is that right?
That's true. You'll see that. But again, here it's what? It's all about the sky. Right. In Nebraska, I call it, it's a study in horizontality. The horizontal scenes that we have here, and that of course accentuates that. And so Ann's clearly gone out and seen this scene for herself in her mind's eye, maybe photographed it. I'm not sure how she works that way, but she was able to take this very lovely scene, got the Herefords down in here, a classic scene there, and then again the color and the scenescape here is just really, really well done.
Isn't it amazing as artists how we are always so impacted by our surroundings? And I know you spend a lot of time with photography, and you have mentioned to me that you can look at a photo or you can look at a painting and you say, wow, I may not know that artist, but that really looks like a Nebraska palette or a central Nebraska palette, or that looks like a Western palette, far West Coast. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, everybody, I think, is certainly influenced by their surroundings. And so if you're either from here originally or if you've moved to this area, it's going to be that. And your show beautifully illustrates that. So most of your artists have some connection to this, or deep connections, I should say, to this area. And I think exactly what you just described certainly informs the artwork of the individuals, and Ann certainly is no exception to that. Boy, you've got some really great pieces of hers scattered throughout.
We really do, and this is pretty typical of her work, and I think that if you love big skies, and this is definitely big sky country, you will absolutely love Ann Martin's work. Her studio is in Doniphan, Nebraska, and she went to Hastings College and graduated Hastings College with an art degree, and then kind of put it on ice for a little while she had her professional career. Just recently returned to painting. So that's another thing. You and I have often talked about pursuit of creativity and who can do it and who should do it. It's never too late to go back and try, right?
Okay, we've got some photographs here by a Gibbon-based photographer, so that's just about 30 miles to the west of here. Karen Leno, I hope I'm saying her name right. I've not met Karen, but she has a wonderful display here of some of her work. And Gibbon is right just near or on the Platte River, depending on where her home is. And we all know that the bird and crane migration goes through there in a big way. And again, her photography certainly is manifesting where she lives. Looking through some of the imagery, she's got some close-up fine detail of ice, and there's even an ice storm here where everything was coated with ice. And she's got a nice different set of displays here. So we've got a photograph. This appears to be printed on metal or aluminum. We've got a canvas wrap here. We've got a traditional glass frame type. So she's got a large variety of presentation of her work here. Looks like we've got some crane photographs backlit by the clouds and the sun there. That's a lovely image there, one of my favorites perhaps. And then the contrail coming up through the lone tree there into the thing. And does that remind you of something we've already been talking about? Nebraska, the landscape, the sky, those kinds of things. And I appreciate what Karen's done with her camera.
So this photography work, and I'm so glad that you're a photographer yourself as an artist, this photography work that has really grown to move beyond, just hanging a plain photo in a frame on the wall to canvas or to metal or those various, mediums, I guess, that you share that artistry on. How has that evolved?
Recently? First of all, let's just say it's a lot of fun. As a photographer, you got options. Okay, when I was a kid, you had your film, you made your print, you went out, you just sort of did your thing. But now some of these metal prints and some of the types of canvas wraps and things that we have available to us, you can really get into a lot of different things. And it looks like she's experimenting with a lot of things that might work best for the image that she's trying to portray.
Okay, the work that we want to talk about next, that Brad and I want to spend some time with, is the work of Kay Grimminger. And the reason I want to spend some time on this is because she's got a lot of bead work as well as textile work in this show. And oftentimes we don't consider, necessarily beadwork or textiles as art.
Well, I think that would be a mistake. When you begin to look at the work that she's produced here in the 3D, it's just amazing, the intricate detail and the interplay of color and form. It's really fantastic.
It really, really is. And this beaded handbag that we're standing in front of that's under glass right now is so very intricate that you can't even imagine how long it would have taken to place all of these beads on this bag and sew it into the bag. It truly is incredible. It actually looks like something from another age almost.
It could. I mean, maybe a Persian influence or something like that. I don't know what her influences are that way, but it certainly has that to it. And this is a work of passion. You're not going to count the clock on the hours of work that it takes for that type of thing. And so I have a great appreciation for someone taking the time to put that kind of detail
Truly.
into this.
And Kay taught art to students here in Grand Island and in Grand Island Public Schools for many, many years, and now she's retired. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the fact that we do have many artists teach. I mean, you teach yourself at the college level. Mm-hmm. And is there some passion that moves the artist to say, well, I want to share this with students and I want to pass this on? So to speak.
Well, every teacher is going to have their own thing. You look at the movie Mr. Holland's Opus, right? And he just thought, I'll just do this teaching gig until I can do my real music, and he ended up making a whole career of it. So everybody that teaches, but it does keep you connected to the art, connected to young people and the fresh minds that are there. And so it's really a fantastic way to do that. And so frequently a teacher will have the art that they do with their students, but they'll have their passion that they'll find their time to do.
Practice.
Yeah, it keeps you connected.
One of the things that I find about being around young people as someone who loves to make art myself is that they always seem to challenge you with those fresh eyes. They always seem to say, wow, well, what if I did it this way? And sometimes we're challenged by that because, maybe that's not the way that traditionally we do it, but that's the way great art is made, right?